over, we have the Jayden Daniels talk as a leader, as a player. He had a great freshman season. But what we want to talk about is he a legitimate Heisman contender?
Yes, he is, but I'm not on the Jayden train yet. I'm sorry, Wills.
Oh, man.
But hey, it is what it is. He's a sophomore. He needs to put on some weight. This man, I feel like, here's the bottom line. If Jayden Daniels wants to, enter himself legitimately into the Heisman race, Heisman talk, I feel like he needs to use his feet a little bit more. He needs to throw the ball a little bit better and just be on his feet more.
I mean, it's a great point. I was surprised when looking up his stats as a whole from last year. It's hard to look at it and be like, wow, he had less than 400. He had less than 400 yards rushing last year, and it's like you really thought he was more successful on his feet. But you got to realize, as a freshman, his decision making was fantastic. The 2 interceptions as a pocket passer, his poise in the pocket of when to leave, he could sense that pressure coming from his blind side. And we've seen 3 years of Manny Wilkins. Man, that guy would either stay 45 seconds too long in the pocket, or he would leave before the ball was even snapped in his hands. And as a fan, it's just like you never let plays develop. You never let the coaches call plays for you. And really coming in from a freshman, was fantastic. And we got a question: which sport will be the first to play a game this school year? That's tough. For ASU, I mean, it will probably be something that doesn't involve a lot of contact. I want to say one of the major ones they were talking about were football, basketball, and cross country were, I think, the 3 that they were first to get axed. I want to say sports that they were hoping for were like tennis. Swimming was potentially one of them, because there's not any really contact in swimming. You could space out lanes potentially if you needed to. But it's hard to tell with what sports are going to be good, because it's hard for a school to say, hey, college football is all good to go, but, hey, tennis, sorry, your season's canceled. It's hard to say that. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be one individual sport or a whole total of sports. But back to the Jayden Daniels talk. We have his stats right in front of us. 60% completion, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 355 rushing yards, and he notched 3 top 25 wins, including at Michigan State and home against Oregon, that ultimately ruined Oregon's college football playoff hopes. They would have been in with the win over ASU, and Jayden Daniels simply outplayed Justin Herbert. But you think you're not on the train. What are some other names? Let's count out this season. Let's go next year where there's no Trevor Lawrence, no Justin Fields. Who do you think are some other names that are going to be competing against Jayden Daniels?
Well, the first name that comes to mind, you take out Trevor Lawrence out of the ACC, Sam Howell.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if he's a sophomore or a junior, but he's quarterback at UNC.
Yep.
This man can throw the ball, and he's got weapons. Watch out for him. He's a dirty player. He's filthy.
Well, and people fail to realize with him is Mac Brown is putting a great program around UNC. I mean, that program has only gone up, and Mac Brown, wherever he goes, Texas is one of the best dynasties ever. Wherever he goes, he wins. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Howell does under Mac Brown. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but if you have some.
I got another Pac-12 player for you, and this was brought to my attention. Bruce Feldman, read him on The Athletic. Penei Sewell, an offensive lineman, plays for Oregon. He's a junior. He's got some high praise from Mario Cristobal. He says he's one of the best he's ever coached. I mean, that guy has coached a lot of pros, a lot of good players. He knows what he's talking about. This kid can – I just watched some film on him about 30 minutes ago. He can throw these kids right on the ground.
And when you're talking about Heisman, it's almost impossible to, talk about an offensive tackle for Heisman. It's, it's never been done. But I think when you bring out names like that, it's like, yeah, they might not get the national praise. They might not get invited to New York, but that's a guy that very well and probably will be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. So if you're a team that, your team's projected to be bottom 5 and bottom 7 and you need line help, this is a guy that in the Pac-12, every game you're going to want to watch. The pancake blocks, the swings, the pulls, everything he does is swift. He's a massive human being. He is a 18-wheeler of a human being coming down when he's trying to block you, and it's someone that you do not want to get in the way. We saw it at ASU. He had a fantastic game against ASU last year, and it's someone as a sophomore last year, junior this year. Obviously, his season's pushed to the spring. Someone you're only going to watch out for. But we failed to mention with talking about Heisman candidates, we kind of touched over it with the draft. If you're an incoming junior, you have to stay 3 years in college. If you're an incoming junior, do you go early, or do you kind of want, if you're on an Oregon, do you want to come back for that national championship run? And that's something that really could twist up the Heisman talk in 2 years. You never know if, let's say Trevor Lawrence wouldn't be going pro, but I'm trying to think of a big name that in this upcoming NFL draft is escaping me of his quarterbacks. But
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is also a sophomore this year, or he did redshirt. I'm not sure how the whole red shirts go, but is he going to be? I'm drawing a blank with the drafts, but and the whole red shirt eligibility. But like I said, you never know if someone comes back. We've watched Brock Purdy at Iowa State. I mean, that's somebody that's probably not going to go pro, but him benefiting under a fourth year, something that can really, really shake up the Heisman looks. And someone like Brock Purdy